All right, so for today's lesson, I'm going to do some noticings and wonderings. As you can see here, I've got two fractions, both on 4x6 grids, and so they are the same size rectangles. But if you notice, I have two different fractions represented here. And I notice that the first fraction, I have 3 out of the 4 colored in, so therefore the fraction would be 3/4. And I notice on this fraction over here, I have 5 out of 6, or 5/6, right? So I have two sets of fractions, different fractions. Another observation that I notice is when I cut a cake or something into quarters, I'm going to have larger pieces compared to when I cut something into 6 pieces. And so we can kind of figure out, okay, I've got larger pieces in 3/4 when I cut it into fourths than I do in 5 or on the sixths. So then my next question is, okay, how do I know which fraction is larger? So I can kind of visually see that this one has 6 of the small squares exposed. So 6 of the small squares are not colored in. Whereas over here, I have 4 of the small squares are not colored in. So I can kind of figure out that, okay, if we knew that this whole square covered 24, right? And so 3/4, I would have how many squares colored in on the 3/4? Well, I have 6, 12, 18. So I have 18 of the little squares colored in on the 24th. Okay, so if I take a look at this 5/6, and I know that each one is 4 squares. So I have 4, 8, 12, 16, and 20. So over here I have 20 out of the 24 smaller squares are colored in. And so then I can just take a look, okay, so looking at the sizes, judging by the sizes, I notice that this fraction over here seems to be larger than this fraction over here. And it's easy to see that when I notice because the amount of area that's colored in and the number of small squares that might be colored in on that as well. And so today's work, you're going to be kind of looking at two different fractions and kind of figuring out which is the larger fraction, which is the smaller fraction based on size. And then we can start to make some deductions about the numbers itself as well. And so we'll kind of go through that process today in our math. So we're going to compare the size of fractions.